Hello there, fellow cultists. This is DMNL, and I'm back with another Shadow Talk. This is episode 171, and today I'm going to be talking about the newest Schwalb Entertainment game, Abaddon, Angel in the Void. But before we get to that, a few things first. If I have little white flakes of stuff coming off of me, it is not rampant dandruff. I actually just finished putting up my Christmas tree, which is pre-flocked, and so all that flocking, um, all that fucking flocking came off and is sticking to me. So now I'm covered with flock. I've done my best to get it off the at least the visible portion of my body here, but I can already see there's a few flakes still happening. So anyway, there's that. Second thing is new stuff. I always talk about new stuff. So we got to talk about new stuff. And the newest thing to come across Drive-Through RPG from Schwab Entertainment is a supplement for Shadow of the Demon Lord called Evil Relics, the 30 Wives of Kazan Kor. Okay, so let's take a look at what that is. Evil Relics, all right. For the Demon Lord engine, the tour through Relics Evil and Foul continues with the 30 Wives of Kazan Kor, however you pronounce that. In this Black Star supplement for Shadow of the Demon Lord, you get the full history of this dangerous relic, as well as the rules for using it, provided the characters can wrest it away from its owner. With a rich and detailed history, this supplement gives you enough material to build an adventure around the relic and have it wreak havoc upon your world. Okay, so Black Star Supplement. I have not read it. I do have it because I backed the Black Star Kickstarter, and that's a gift that just keeps on giving. Much to Schwab's chagrin, I'm sure, but yeah, keep getting stuff, and this is the latest. So there you go. Hopefully, that's something that you can integrate into one of your games at some point. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to touch on is that there have been some updates to previous products, and let me try to remember here what those were. Um, whoops, that's the wrong thing. Here we go. All right, so the updates that I have received so far have been applied to Secrets of the Weird Wizard, Slaves in Death, Odd Monsters, Noisome Beasts, an Ambulatory Head, and Drink Deep from the River of My Hate. Those are the updates I've seen so far. There may be more forthcoming, I'm not really sure, but I've seen several emails come through informing me that those updates have been made. So if you're currently using any of these supplements, you may want to check out the update to make sure that you have the latest and greatest. Okay, so that's all the new stuff to talk about. There has been an update recently saying that releases for Schwab Entertainment stuff may be delayed. For some reason, one of the pieces of the Schwab machinery is having issues, and so that's going to cause a delay. So normally, Schwab releases at least one thing a week, but yeah, that I think I think we're going to be going a little bit longer in between releases. So and that's fine. That's okay. Might give me a chance to actually read up on some of the stuff I have and just filed away. Okay, so main topics. We're going to talk about my experience running Abaddon, Angel in the Void. You can't really talk about that, however, without doing a little bit of a recap on why this game is different than Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard and Punk Apocalyptic and where the Wolf one um, and Godless. So Schwalb has put out a lot of games, and his core games, of course, are the Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard and Punk Apocalyptic games. He had three pretty big Kickstarters for those, and I think those are his main product lines. And then he has recently produced the Demon Lord engine, which is the core rule set that he plans on using for future releases. And so I don't think we're going to be seeing any more big Kickstarters coming out of Schwalb Entertainment unless it's to support something fancy that he wants to do. But instead, he's going to be putting out new games utilizing this Demon Lord engine system. And so the Demon Lord engine, I've got the soft cover right here, like I said, it's just the rule set, and it's a 29-page supplement, or not supplement. It's the core rule book basically for these new games. Now it's just the core rules for the core rule book, so it's called the Rules Compendium because that's all it has in it is rules for how to do stuff. It does not have paths. It does not have ancestries. And it does not have any spells or psionics or anything like that. But it is meant to be a multi-genre. Is that a word? Genre? It is now. Multi-genre rule set. So meaning that you can run fantasy, sci-fi, horror, whatever type of game you want to run, you can run it with this rule set. It's pretty, like I said, it's pretty streamlined. It's pretty, it's enough that you can keep, pretty much the whole rule book in a 29-page little booklet, which is pretty good. So the Demon Lord engine is available on DriveThruRPG. If you want to pick that up, you can pick out just the PDF, or you can pick up the PDF and a rule book. I think you can get it in softcover or hardcover. I don't remember if it was in hardcover, but I didn't get hardcover if it is available. But at any rate, softcover is fine for me. Fairly cheap. This is $10 or $9.99 on DriveThruRPG. And if I end up going with this rule set for all my games going forward, then probably going to get extra copies of the rule book for my players for them to reference. Okay, so that is the first thing we need to talk about is the game that I ran, Abaddon, Angel in the Void, utilizes the Demon Lord engine as its rule set. Okay, now the Abaddon, what has been released for Abaddon so far is just one item, and that is whoops, let's come over here. Okay. There's only been one thing released for Abaddon, and that is this little rule set here. And it's not really even a rule set. It has rules in it, but it's mostly an adventure. And so basically, and it's an adventure, and it is a introduction to the setting. So this is a science fiction game. However, it is set in the Schwalbverse, which I don't know if this term has been coined already or even defined, but whenever I use the term Schwalbverse, what I'm meaning are all the games that are in the Shadow of the Demon Lord Megaverse. And the Shadow of the Demon Lord Megaverse, in my opinion, includes Shadow of the Demon Lord and Shadow of the Weird Wizard, and the first Godless supplement, possibly the second Godless rule set as well. but I haven't read it thoroughly enough to see if it fits in the Schwab megaverse. I think it does. I think it does. I don't think Punk Apocalyptic does, though. I think that is. I think it's its own standalone game. I could be wrong. It might be in the Schwabverse, but at any rate, um, I do consider the Shadow of the Demon Lord Weird Wizard, Godless, the original at least, and Abaddon here to be part of the Schwabverse. Okay, so having said that, when we talk about Angel in the Void, we are talking about the actual void in the Schwabverse that houses the Demon Lord and all of his demons, as well as the destroyed remnants of the universes that the Demon Lord has reclaimed. And by reclaiming, he basically destroys it and breaks down a universe to reconsume it into his being. So that is, that's what the Demon Lord does. But the void is an impossibly large void. Basically, there's nothing in it other than the matter and energy that came from the Demon Lord, and that's floating around. So it's mostly pieces of destroyed worlds, um, demons, and the little points of light that are everywhere that represent the various universes and multiverses that were created from the Demon Lord's essence. More on that is in the my favorite supplement, whose name I can never remember. I have it down here somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me. And of course, I can't find it. Uh, uh, the Hunger in the Void. Hunger in the Void is the name of the supplement. In fact, I have it up here. Here it is. Hunger in the Void gives you the whole background of what the Demon Lord is, how the Demon Lord's multi megaverse came about. It doesn't use that. It doesn't use that terminology. That's my terminology, but it alludes to it. It very strongly suggests that. So at any rate, the Abaddon, the Angel in the Void, exists in that void. So technically, it is situated so that you could technically connect the dots between a Shadow and the Demon Lord campaign and Abaddon, or a Shadow of the Weird Wizard campaign and Abaddon, if you wanted to do that. And nothing's stopping you from doing it. Anyway, it's just that the infrastructure is already set up so that you don't have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to make it fit. All right, so Abaddon, Angel in the Void. This is the first sci-fi game to come out of Schwab Entertainment. If you don't count the first Godless, which I consider to be more of a post-apocalyptic modern game than a sci-fi game, although there are some sci-fi elements kind of in there, so near future type stuff. This is more of a far future sci-fi, if you want to split hairs. So, but it does start you off very grounded. So even though the setting is far future, the game actually begins at a very low tech level for the characters. So I think that's done purposefully so that you can kind of ramp up the sci-fi elements as the campaign progresses, but that's yet to be determined, and we'll have to wait and see on which direction this campaign goes. Okay, so Abaddon, Angel in the Void. The setting is that there was a world, and it was a far future world, and that world was destroyed. Now, whether Abaddon itself was part of this world, orbited the world, or was just in the universe that this world that existed with this world, and by world I mean world or universe. I mean, it could be Abaddon's original universe could have been like 40K, where it was an entire galaxy that was populated and controlled by humankind. but it doesn't give you that much detail. So I don't know if it's going to be expanded upon or if that's left vague enough for you to fill in those blanks as you want to. I hope it's the latter, but we'll see. But at any rate, the setting in Abaddon is the remnants of a world or universe that was destroyed by the Demon Lord, and what's left is a ring. Let's call it a ring world. Okay, so what is a ring world? A ring world is an artificial world that is created on a ring that is, enormous, and on the interior of the ring is um, where the where the world is. So the settlements and the cities and the landscape was built into the interior of this ring. And do I have a ring around here where I could illustrate this? Now you're smart people. You can figure it out. So on the interior of this ring, you've got cities and all this stuff, and then in the center of this ring, there is an artificial sun that provides illumination to half the ring, and then the dark side provides darkness, and it gives equal time for daylight and darkness. So the ring rotates around the sun, or the sun rotates. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really specify. However it works, the ring gets 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime. And the nighttime side is not completely dark. It provides enough illumination to be equivalent to moonlight. So that is that's the physical setting for Abaddon. Now, we don't know how long this ring has been in the void, but it's been long enough where it is, in the ancient history of the people that live on Abaddon. But at some point, what is known is that Abaddon's universe was destroyed, and this ring was somehow pulled into the void and escape destruction. Now, the ring itself is fortified so that it prevented demons from swarming in and attacking everything and killing everything. So whatever technology brought the ring in here and allows it to continue functioning also provided a strong defense against the creatures that reside, the demons that reside in the void, and other dangers. It's also referred to as angel in the void because other creatures that have found themselves in the void have been able to find their way to Abaddon. So Abaddon is kind of like the soul sanctuary, or at least one of the few sanctuaries, if there are others, that are in the void, that people who survive the destruction of their universe and find themselves in the void may make their way to Abaddon, and maybe a few have in the past. So, but the past is very vague, because what happened at some point about 300 years ago, the defenses that were keeping the demons out of Abaddon failed, and Abaddon was swarmed with masses and masses of demons. Now, there were probably millions, if not billions, of people living on Abaddon, on the ring, on the various parts of the ring. But when the demons attacked, it was basically endgame for Abaddon. Most of Abaddon was overrun by demons, and most of its people were killed. But a few made it to at least one sanctuary, and that sanctuary is called Sanctuary Spire. So Sanctuary Spire is the setting for the starting adventure for Abaddon, Angel in the Void. And so before we get into the adventure itself, let's just talk about what class choices, or what choices are available for players in Angel in the Void. Now, once you give your players the background of the setting, that the basic background that I just covered. Then you have to talk about their characters and what their characters are familiar with. Now, every character in this game is a human. That's not to say that there couldn't be other characters or other ancestries that eventually are brought into this setting. In fact, I think it would be very cool if there were some aliens alien survivors from other worlds that would be found elsewhere on Abaddon. But at least for the starting adventure, every character is assumed to be a human that lives at Sanctuary Spire. Now, it talks about Sanctuary Spire as the sole refuge of the survivors of that demon apocalypse. And there's only 144,000 people that live at Sanctuary Spire. Now, when the demon apocalypse occurred, people really didn't have time to save everything and bring it to Sanctuary Spire. Sanctuary Spire, incidentally, was not designed to be a bunker for this type of an emergency, but it became kind of a default bunker as a result of the apocalypse happening and people finding it. And the spire itself seems to be impervious to demon attacks. So, excuse me. 144 people made it to Sanctuary Spire, and that's all who are, and that's the only number of survivors that are allowed at any given time to exist within Sanctuary Spire. So if somebody is born, then somebody has to die. If somebody dies, then somebody has to be born. Now, all of this is managed by an entity known as the Authority. Nobody knows what the Authority is. It could be an all-powerful artificial intelligence. It could be an actual biological entity. It could be a cyborg. It could be a combination of computer and person. Who knows? But all that people know is that the Authority makes the law for Sanctuary Spire, and the Authority provides sustenance for the survivors. And the sustenance comes from what's called giving stones, which are obelisks, mechanical obelisks that provide the refugees with food, water, and basic clothing. But it doesn't provide anything else. So the survivors basically have to make do with whatever they could find within the complex of Sanctuary Spire. Now, the complex is a 10-mile radius area, and the spire is in it, and the entire area is surrounded by a white metal wall that demons cannot penetrate. And so this is what keeps the people safe from the demons that are still out there wanting to kill every last soul on Abaddon. So basically 300 years ago, the survivors came into Sanctuary Spire. They had to tear up metal plates to get to the earth that's underneath the metal plates to be able to farm and to be able to get equipment to make basic necessities for life. So even though they're surrounded by this high tech, very far future high tech, the people are actually forced to go back to almost a hunter-gatherer, definitely an agricultural type of environment. And even though the Giving Stones provides basic sustenance, the sustenance that it provides is tasteless paste that's called mana. That gives your body all the nutrients it needs to survive, but it tastes like Quaker Oats without any sugar in it. So at any rate, so there you go. You've got the setting. Within the setting, this supplement here goes through and talks about the different factions that exist within the setting, but those aren't really needed for the first adventure. So you can kind of skim over this with your players, and that's what I did. I basically just provided a one sentence summary of each faction and what they represent. I spent a little bit more time talking about the caretakers. Now, the caretakers report directly to um, the the authority. Sorry, the authority. And the caretakers come in three known forms. There may be more, but the caretakers of Sanctuary Spire are in three forms that are regularly seen by the people. The first form is the cherub, which is a diminutive cherubim. Um, let's see, they have small mechanical bodies covered in a sheath of white porcelain, giving them a doll-like appearance. They have flexible feathered wings made from some unknown metal, which they can use to fly at high speeds around the spire and beyond, and the grounds beyond. So they're kind of like the repairmen. They take care of kind of like the every day-to-day maintenance of the spire. Now, security is handled by the Seraph, and nobody ever feels comfortable whenever the Seraphim are nearby. These folks are they're tall. They have a tall, willowy body, obviously mechanical in form, that's covered in a sheath of white porcelain, like cherubim. They have feathery metal wings that give them flight. They have humanoid shapes, but lack any facial features that would distinguish them from one another. So this is, I guess, an illustration of a seraph. So that's the second type. And then the third type of caretaker is the throne. The mysterious thrones appear without warning, surveying their surroundings with their many eyes, and then vanish. Some believe these strange caretakers act as the authorities' watchers and periodically venture out from the spire to gather information for their maker. The thrones never explain themselves, and like the cherubim, seem to have no interest in dealing with humans. If they come under attack, the thrones vanish, and the seraphim show up soon after to meet punishment. Okay, so I guess you can say that the thrones are the monitoring system for the authority. The seraph are the security system, and the cherub are the maintenance system. There may be other systems that have not been revealed to the people, but that's what all that has been revealed to us thus far. We also have this fun little sidebar that talks about the sport, the main sport that is played in Sanctuary Spire, called Bostro. So if you want to add a little bit of that to your game, you certainly can. It talks about the people and some enemy. So the factions that I mentioned up here, those are kind of administrative factions that run society. But there are three factions that are mentioned that are outlaw factions. The anarchists, the demonists, and the heretics. So those exist within the population as well. Now, all of that, again, is just background information for the setting. None of it is necessary to run this adventure. To run this adventure, you basically just need to tell the players, you know, about Sanctuary Spire, about the tech level. You know, they know how to use basic tools. They've read books about the higher tech level that existed before the demon apocalypse. So they know that you know, there are things like teleporters and ray guns and shit like that. In fact, the caretakers display far future technology, but some people may already be considering that to be like magic. So if you wanted to take that direction, you certainly could do that. It's been 300 years since people have been out in the ring where the high tech, the day-to-day high tech was something that they interacted with. So that's a number of generations that have been born without direct knowledge of day-to-day high-tech conveniences. Only what they have been able to read from the very few very few books and data files that were brought with the original survivors, 300 years ago. So that's why you've got a high-tech setting, but a low-tech player base, player character base. Okay, so once you have that established, then you can run the adventure. So the adventure is very easy to set up. Every 10 years, the Authority opens up the gates of Sanctuary Spire to allow exactly, was it 144 people? I think it's 144 people. No, hold on here. Yeah, 144 people to leave Sanctuary Spire and explore the surrounding ruins. Now, their mission is to look for any signs of demonic activity within the ruins and to report back to Sanctuary Spire within 24 hours. If they fail to report back within 24 hours, then the gates will be permanently closed and the characters will be stuck outside of the gates of Sanctuary Spire for 10 more years and have to survive on their own. So they have a time limit in order to explore. And for this particular adventure, they're already assumed to be 18 hours into the 24-hour period that they were allotted to explore. So they only have 6 hours remaining before they have to get back to Sanctuary Spire. So that's what the adventurer's mission is. The characters do not have a choice. They are selected randomly from the 144,000 people that live in Sanctuary Spire. And once you're selected, you are forced to be what's referred to as one of the chosen. And the chosen are the 144 that have to go explore the ruins every 10 years. As I mentioned before, everybody is human. The human attributes are listed here. And it talks about how the ability scores apply, and it has a table to determine your starting ability score. So you roll a d20, and depending on that roll, that tells you what your 4 ability scores are, at which point you can assign them to any of the 4 attributes that you want to. Then you have expertise that you can determine. It says the default is that you know how to live within Sanctuary Spire and use the technology that's in there. You know how to use the giving stones. And you have 1 area of expertise based on your life before becoming one of the chosen. So you can either choose from this table here of areas of expertise, or you can roll randomly. So these are things like you're an actor, you make things, you were a Bostro player, you're kind of dark-sided here, you're interested in dark and weird subjects, you're interested in the past. This just gives your character a little bit of kind of a background flavor that you can use. Although honestly, most of this will not come into play in the starting adventure, although it could, depending on how much you want to incorporate into the starting adventure. All right, your character knows Allspeak, which is the standard language in Sanctuary Spire, and then you can roll for background events. So this gives your character a little bit more to work with. I skipped this part simply because I only had 3 hours to run my game and I didn't want to waste time with something that really wasn't probably going to be relevant to the game. So I skipped the background events, but there's some fun stuff in here, so I would encourage you, if you can, to go ahead and fit that in. Then your character all has the same starting equipment. More or less, you have clothing. You have 1 medium melee weapon, which is not specified, though it recommends something like a machete or hammer. One of my player characters decided that their weapon was going to be a piece of rebar with a chunk of concrete still affixed to the one end of it, which I thought was kind of cool. Another person had a ball bat as their weapon. Then it has a table for names of the spire. So if you don't want to, if you're going to do some pre-generated characters, which is what I did, I just rolled randomly on here, and that was the name that that pre-generated character had. You can, of course, have them create their own or have them roll randomly or whatever works for your group. It talks about item cards. Item cards are that's how you find things in the game. So if you find a piece of a tool or an item that has specific functions, then it comes in the form of an item card, which I'll show you here later in the supplement. Then it talks about finding equipment, and if you find equipment and bring it back to Sanctuary Spire, then you can sell it to gain credits. So it talks about that. I'm sure that's going to be expanded on more when other supplements for Abaddon comes out. But at this point, there is an economy within Sanctuary Spire, and you can earn money by bringing stuff back and selling it. And then we get into the adventure itself. Now, the start of the from here on out, I'm going to be talking about the adventure in detail based on our experience. So if you don't want spoilers, then get the fuck out right now. But for those of you remaining, I'm going to talk about how we went through this, how I ran this, and if there was any deviation, which actually I don't recall off the top of my head if I deviated, but as I go through this, I'll remember and I'll point out if I had any significant deviations from the storyline. So it begins with the background that I already mentioned, that your characters are one of the 144 chosen. You've been set out into the ruins. You've been out there for 18 hours. And during those 18 hours, the characters have experienced some things, and there are several bullet points of what they experienced. The first one is that they belong to the 72 chosen that left through a specific gate called Sunwise Gate, and the other 72 went out through the Widdershins Gate. So I'm envisioning this as being gates on opposite sides of the spire, which means that one group explores one side and the other group explores the other side. So you're only getting the perspective for this adventure of one side of Sanctuary Spire. Second bullet point says that they saw no demons, but they did encounter deadly plants, fungi, weird ambling creatures, and an unstable landscape, earthquakes, strange storms, shifting features, and that sort of thing. The next bullet point says that during those 18 hours, the group saw plenty of their fellow chosen killed in new and exciting ways. The next bullet point is that about an hour ago, a hulking thing waddling about on two fat, stubby legs, flailing tentacles and spreading out from its torso, flailing tentacles that spread out from the torso, ambushed the group, killing several of them horrifically. I have the perfect monster for that somewhere around here, but I think I took it over to my table, and I'm too lazy to get up and go get it, because that's a shame. But anyway, I wouldn't have been able to use it anyway because I played this on with my virtual group and not my tabletop group. But anyway, okay, so yeah, they're one of the 72 that went out of the Widdershin. No, the other one, the Sunspire. Anyway, they went out of the not the Widdershins Gate, and so it talks a little bit here. Oh, well, did I finish the bullet points? I don't think I did. So the hulking thing found them and killed several of their characters of the group that they were with horrifically. So the player characters fled and were able to escape thanks to one slow-moving chosen that got eaten up. His screaming, gruesome death kept the flailing thing busy enough for everyone else to slip inside a ruined building. Once inside the building, a pink transparent energy field snapped into place, closing off their avenue of escape, and thus trapping them in the building. And then final bullet point here is that the flailing thing paces on the rubble-strewn street outside seeking a way to get inside for more tasty snacks. It's probing tentacles receiving a shock every time they touch the field. So the characters have found temporary refuge from this hulking monster, and you want to build this up so that the characters understand that their characters are not equipped to deal with this threat. This threat will destroy them. It is a pretty powerful creature. It's a difficulty 50 creature. And assuming the difficulties in the Demon Lord engine are somewhat, correlate with the difficulty in Weird Wizard or Demon Lord, difficult 50 for starting players is going to be a deadly encounter for them. So the flailing thing should be avoided at all costs. So you should really cement that home. What you don't want to have happen is the player character saying, we can take this thing on. Let's just lure it in here, and we can fight it in the doorway and minimize its attacks or whatever. No, they want to find a different way to get back to the sanctuary, and they only have 6 hours. So there is a timer associated here as well. Also, the building that they're in is not safe. It is the ruins of a structure that had multiple stories, but the upper stories have collapsed, and the only story that remains is the one that they're in. So always, the ceiling's always creaking. There's always dust settling from up above, and you want to specify that being inside this building is only a temporary safety for them, but they need to find another way out, or find something that they can use to fight the flailing thing, because their medium melee weapons are not going to be useful to them. All right, so now you actually begin the game. So at this point, I'm going to show you my Foundry tabletop that I used, and I'm still here. I used Foundry because I already have the Shadow of the Demon Lord and the Shadow of the Weird Wizard modules set up for this. However, this game does not have a virtual tabletop module set up specifically for it, and there are some differences. So the Demon Lord engine has a handful of differences from Demon Lord and from Weird Wizard that set it apart from those two systems. I found that the closest to the Demon Lord engine is the Weird Wizard system, because it uses the same initiative system that Weird Wizard uses, and not the initiative system that Demon Lord uses. So it would be easier for me to use the Foundry module for Weird Wizard to run a combat, because the combat in the module is set up for the Shadow of the Weird Wizard combat and initiative system. So I figured Weird Wizard would be the best way. Now, I did not use the character sheets, although I could have. So if you pull open a character sheet for Shadow of the Weird Wizard in Foundry, it gives you the 4 stats. It gives you all of the normal Shadow of the ... abilities, attributes, all that stuff is in the character sheet. However, Shadow of the Weird Wizard has stuff that the Demon Lord engine does not support, and that is such as bonus damage. There is no bonus damage in the Demon Lord engine rules compendium, and it makes no mention of bonus damage being used for Abaddon. So I believe that bonus damage is not going to be used. Now, that's not a deal breaker for this character sheet, but I didn't want to try. I only had 2 days to prep my game, so I didn't want to try and retrofit the starting characters into the Foundry character sheet. So what I did instead was I created a character sheet, and I created a form fillable PDF of the character sheet that I created, and then I put the stats, starting equipment, and all the relevant information for each of the starting characters that I pre-generated for my session on the PDF. And then I provided a copy of the PDF to each of my players. So they had a physical or a PDF version of their character so they can manage the things that this character sheet cannot support at this point. And mostly that is the courage and horror attribute, and the perception attribute, because there's no perception in Shadow the Weird Wizard, and the corruption attribute. There's no corruption in Shadow the Weird Wizard. So those things are not found on the Shadow the Weird Wizard character sheet. Now that doesn't mean to say that you couldn't track those things. You could very easily come over here on the Notes tab in Foundry, and you could track your, let's just do it like this. You could come down here and you could put in corruption, horror, perception, and corruption. And you can manually keep track of them on this character sheet if you want to do that in the Notes tab. That way, you don't your players don't have to manage a manual character sheet or a PDF. But since this was a one shot for me, I went ahead and just gave them the PDF. I did not set up these character sheets so that they could use them in the game itself. So with the manual character sheet, that meant that any rolls that they would make would have to be made manually in the dice toolbar down here. So if they had to make an attack roll with a boon or a bane, then they would have to roll a d20 plus a d6 in order to do that. So that's just how we did it. No, I don't want to get rid of that. Just do that. Anyway, there is no there is no Demon Lord Engine character sheet that Schwab Entertainment has provided. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a copy of this in the show notes for this video, and you'll be able to use it. Now this is, again, I put this together, and I'm not a graphic designer. My daughter is. I should have had her create it, but I would have had to pay her, and yeah. Anyway, I took a shot at it, and it's functional. It's a two-pager, front and back. It's expandable, which means that I put enough down here for attacks for multiple weapons. I put some space for talents, for professions and more expertise, and for equipment, languages, and currency. So all that stuff is on here. Oh, I also have a section for mutations in the event that mutations is included in Abaddon, which I don't know. I didn't see anything for mutations in the starting adventure, but it may be something that happens in a future game or a future adventure. Okay, so you can use this character sheet if you really want to put in the work for it. And again, there's not a whole lot of work that you need to do, but you do need to let your players know that you can't have bonus damage, and you have to add these items to the Notes tab. Otherwise, they're going to have to keep track of it separately. I would have them put in the Notes tab so I can refer to it if I need to, and see how they're doing on on corruption and horror and all that jazz. Oh, I put corruption, so that should be courage. Sorry, courage, horror, perception, and corruption. There you go. Okay, and you could put it in the background, you could put it under appearance, you can put it anywhere. This tab here basically is a free form tab that you can put notes in, or any other information. You do have to make sure that you save this though in order for that to stick around. All right, so that's Foundry. Now, some of you might be saying, but I don't use Foundry. Can I use Roll20? You can use Roll20. Um, Roll20 has a shadow of the Demon Lord character sheet, and it has a shadow of the Weird Wizard character sheet in here. But again, those two character sheets are designed for those two game systems. And so if you utilize either of those, you're going to have to modify the character sheet, or have the players add those extra things like I mentioned. So if we went into Roll20 and opened up a character sheet, you can see that it has all the basics that you need, but you're going to have to put in um, the courage, horror. Oh, I forgot to put in perception, and corruption in order for the sheet to be workable. But the nice thing is, with using these character sheets, whether it's in Foundry or whether it is in Roll20, is that whenever you do use the dice roller, it enables you to use the Boons and Bane technology to manage that piece of it, and your characters don't have to manually keep track of that in their when they're manually rolling the dice. Not that it's that big a deal, but for those people that really like that type of automation, then that's the bonus of using the character sheet. Either way, it's okay. For this starting game anyway, there's not a whole lot that they have to keep track of. So whether you're doing it with a manual sheet, a PDF sheet, or you use the actual character sheet in the VTT, it'll work. You can make it work for the starting game. Now, hopefully, by the time more Abaddon and Shadow of the Red Moon stuff is released, and Godless, maybe by then we'll get a VTT that's specific to that provides us a character sheet that's specific to Shadow or the Demon Lord engine. But we'll have to wait and see. Okay. So let's get back to Foundry here and get back to the adventure. Now, when I started the adventure, I started it right where the text said to start it. The characters had just escaped the flailing thing. So here is the token that I used for the flailing thing. Excuse me, which is just basically a lot of tentacles. And then their player characters were brought into, here's one of them, were brought into the main lobby, which is the first room that is listed in the adventure, the reception area. So at this point there is a pink energy field that is crossing the barrier, the entryway, preventing the flailing thing from coming in. Now there is a control panel that the characters can try to figure out to take down that energy barrier, but again, at this point in the adventure, they're trying to stay away from it. They're not trying to fight it. So I had 3 player characters. So let me bring them down here. Come on down. I'll kind of retrace the steps that they took. Now, before I go into that, the map itself comes from the adventure. So the adventure on page 17 has the map for the ruins of the building that they entered. Now, the bad thing about this is that if you want to use the map, you either have to recreate it yourself utilizing whatever map building tools you have for your virtual tabletop, or you have to cut and paste the map and try to get it to fit into your virtual tabletop. So this is one thing I don't like about Schwab Entertainment Games. He doesn't make it easy for people to use his visuals in virtual tabletops. I don't know if that's by choice. I know he likes to run his games on the tabletop. with a few brewskis and some close friends to keep it easy and friendly. But some of us we play virtually because we have friends that are not all local. And so, in my situation, I have one player that lives in a different state, and that's why we play virtually every Tuesday night. And so, um, it would be nice if, when an adventure is released, that the image file that is included in the material for the adventure is provided as a downloadable either JPEG or a PNG that we can use to cut and paste or to upload into a VTT. That way we can get it to fit the grid system in the VTT to the grid that's on the map. Either that or make it so that your map doesn't have a grid. That way we can just take a picture of this image using cut and paste technology and paste it into your VTT, which is what I had to do. And then when you do that, it's always janky when you try to get it to fit with the grid that is already on the map itself. So this map has a grid in the adventure in a couple places. Well, basically in most of the places of this it has a grid. So that means that now I have to try to align that grid with my virtual tabletop grid if I don't want to have some confusing overlapping lines. So when you cut and paste something into a virtual tabletop, it makes it difficult to align those grids because the image file that you cut and pasted is not going to be sized precisely to fit a grid in the virtual tabletop. So you have to basically work with the grid application, which Foundry has a pretty forgiving one, but even with it, the closest I could get was having the left side of the grid system match the grid on the map, but then the right side, the grid was off by a little bit. As you can, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's like the grid of the map, and then you can see the grid of the virtual tabletop offsetting it, which drives me fucking crazy, insane, out of my mind. But I deal with it just so that we can get through the game. And so get through the game, we did, and it worked as well as it could. But at any rate, for the most part, the grid worked for the majority of the map. Well, the L in the map, it worked. The inside of these two rooms, it did not. Okay, so having said that, again, Schwab Entertainment, it would be nice if anybody's listening to give us that uploadable file as a, I don't know, a bonus file to go along with the PDF. That would be great. Okay, so at any rate, my players started off in the reception area. So they explore the reception areas, not much in here other than a reception desk where they find a skeleton that has some key cards and a security bot and some teleporters. Now, there's also an empty fountain in here, which there's no reason for it. It's just there. My players spent a little bit of time trying to figure out if there was anything interesting there, but there's not. If you want to, you can put something interesting in there, but I didn't really have time to do that. They explored the teleporters and discovered that one teleporter is functional, but there are no teleporters within its range outside of this building that are functional. So the functioning teleporter is not useful for this game. Now, that doesn't mean that it couldn't be useful for a future game. So keep that in mind as a DM that maybe wants to continue this game. That teleporter may be useful at some point. But when they mess around with the security bot, it activates and it goes into immediate intruder mode. And so the characters have to fight it. They can salvage an arm cannon from the security bot, which gives them one nice high-tech weapon to replace or to supplement the low-tech medium weapon that they are possessing, they have in their possession. Also, they have key cards of various colors that allow them to enter the different rooms. They are only able to find the basic key card in the first room here, but as they explore other rooms, they'll be able to find other color key cards that allow them entryway and entry into some of these other rooms. Now, I screwed up um, when I had the player characters go into one of these rooms, and I believe it was this room here. I accidentally read to them um, the bathroom scene instead of the scene for room 10. So that 10 there looks just like the 18 over here. And so I looked at room 18 and read room 18 for room 10. And there's an encounter in room 18 that's not in room 10. So I screwed up and made it so that one of the player characters had this psychic flash, which kind of fits the one of the factions that is in the Sanctuary Spire, because there is a faction that tries to train people on using mental abilities. So this could be a foreshadowing of this character eventually, getting psychic abilities. So that's how I played that, my screw up off on that one. So just beware, this 10 looks exactly like this 18 to my old eyes, and could be also misconstrued for 16 down here. So just beware, 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 beware. All right, so my characters, they explored the reception area. They found that the stairway going to the second level is choked with debris and were not able to go up there. So they had to either go left or right down here. They chose to go left, and they started exploring these various offices, which they found some interesting things. They found a clean bot down in office number 15. That's actually a cleaning supply closet. And so they activated the clean bot, and they had to fight it. Nothing else of interest in there other than some more key cards, I believe. And then they, explored the. They were going to explore the restroom, but then they remembered the psychic flash that they saw a creature in here. So that was the sewer creature that is listed, sewer beast. Difficulty 5 creature. The clean bot was also a difficulty 5, and the security bot was a difficulty 10, I want to say. Yeah, difficulty 10. Okay, so then they went up in this direction. Oh, no. They went back because they found a key card that enabled them to go into this room. And so they went into this room, and this is where they fought the Dream Wraith. So a Dream Wraith is a creature that was hunkering down in this room. It's kind of like a spider-like creature. If you zoom into the token that I made, then you can see that was a clip from the artwork that is in the adventure. Whoops. What am I doing? What am I doing? Stop. Chaos, chaos. Okay, here we go. There was artwork in the adventure that showed us what a dream wraith looked like. And so I cut and paste and made this into a token for the monster, which is right here. Okay, so they destroyed that. They found some more stuff in here. Then they came up here, investigated around here, found some stuff. Then they found the garage. The entrance to the garage. Before they went into the garage, though, they came down here and checked out these 4 rooms, which are laboratories. They found some more interesting and high-tech. I believe they found a pistol and some tool kits and some more key cards and stuff like that. So they investigated this bottom area, and then these 2 rooms up here, which were machinery rooms, and there really wasn't anything of interest in those 2 rooms. So all this while, they explored all of this. They accumulated items. They fought some different creatures. They could have fought a canister thing in this room, I believe, or it might have been in this room. No, this was a laboratory abomination that was in this room. So they closed the door on it and chose not to fight it once it became activated. Okay, so then once they explored all the rooms, then they decided that they're going to explore the stairwell going down, which led them over to the parking garage. So then they came over to the parking garage. There were some zombots in the parking garage. The zombots were basically human cyborgs that lost their sentience, I guess, and now are just zombies. And they were wandering around the parking garage. We were running short on time at this point, so we had one of the characters basically use a toolkit that was found in the complex to jury rig one of the vehicles and manage to drive it out and back to Sanctuary Spire. So all told, the adventure took all 3 hours. Actually, it took 3.5 hours. So I actually stole an extra half hour of my player's time to finish this. But we did get it finished, and all three players survived. Now, it could have been much more deadly if I really wanted it to be, but I wasn't looking to kill the player characters on the first game of a new system that we're trying to see if we like or not. So they did manage to get their player characters back to Sanctuary Spire, which at this point, if they wanted to continue using them, then they would level up to first level. Otherwise, if we do continue a Abaddon campaign in the future, then they would have to roll up new characters. But they did acquire some stuff, so I would assume that these characters would want to, or the players would want to continue with these characters, given that they now have some cool high-tech weapons and equipment. Okay, so that's how it went. Now, how were the Demon Lord engine rules? Well, honestly, I didn't really notice a whole lot of difference between this game and Demon Lord or Weird Wizard. Of course, we didn't have those other rules that those systems use, like the attack dice. But that's an add-on. Didn't really have to worry about that. The attacks were very basic. The most difficulty I had in running this was coming up on the fly with technology that's not specified in the adventure or in the rules, which is fine. That's just part of being a DM, and yeah, just trying to keep it somewhat on the rails so that the PCs don't try to attack this flailing thing that's way above their pay grade. And it kind of gives them an incentive to keep this game going, since now they have a car and they have some cool weapons that they can use. Now, will the authority let them keep it? Yeah, I don't know. Will the administrata let them keep it? I don't know. That's something that we would have to continue on in a campaign if we decide to go that route. Now, this is the only adventure that has been released for Abaddon thus far. So even if I wanted to continue, I couldn't, because if we wanted to go to the novice level, then we don't have any novice paths until Schwab releases those. And so at this point, I just consider this a one-shot. And maybe we'll come back to this game, maybe we won't. But ultimately, I did get what I was looking for out of this game, which is, how does the Demon Lord Engine Rules Compendium run in an actual game? And so far, no issues. Tracking the courage and horror wasn't a big deal. There was one thing, I think, that resulted in a character getting some horror. Nothing resulted in corruption in the game, and everything else fell within the standard abilities and attributes and stuff that are on the character sheets. So there really wasn't anything special that needed to be done in this game to manage the characters. It all worked out just fine. I love sci-fi. I love some sci-fi in my role playing. Don't get enough of it because most of our role playing is fantasy based, which I dig fantasy, but every once in a while I need a palate cleanser and I need to do a different genre. And sci-fi is one of those genres that just really not have had been satisfied with other game systems that did it. And to be honest with you, my brain is getting to the point where I don't want to manage multiple game systems in my head. I already have to manage D&D for my face-to-face group, 3.5 edition on top of that. And I have to manage Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard and every once in a while Everyday Heroes. And so, that's a lot for my brain to keep straight, to keep those separate silos. And they bleed into each other, and I'm really trying to get down to one game system, and I'm hoping the Demon Lord engine is that system. Okay, so that is it. I've talked a shitload on this video, a lot more than I wanted to, and I'm getting hungry, so it is lunchtime. I'm going to end the video on that note, and I want to thank you all for watching once again. If you have any of your own experiences, please feel free to put them in the comments section. Also, like and subscribe, all that crap that YouTubers say all the time. And yeah, that's about it. So with that, thanks for watching. Hail to the Demon Lord. And I need to get out of this video. How do you stop it? There it is. Later.